Number 3 involves a snail. Snail's clearly not a plant, it's an animal. So the most obvious difference now is that we're dealing with secondary productivity, which means instead of primary, I just use S for secondary. Net secondary productivity equals gross secondary productivity minus the amount due to respiration. Our snail at the beginning of a 2-week experiment weighed 3.7 grams. The little guy gained some weight and after 2 weeks weighed 4.1 grams. At the beginning of the 2 weeks, 16.2 grams of leaves were put into the snail's cage. At the end of 2 weeks, 13.1 grams remain. That tells me the difference between these two numbers, which appears to be 2.9, tells me that the snail ate 2.9 grams of leaves. Meanwhile, the snail gained 0.4 grams. Let's try that again. That should be 3.1 grams. In terms of feces, at the beginning of the experiment, there were no feces in the very clean cage, and after 2 weeks, there were 0.4 grams of feces, giving me a change of 0.4 grams. A few things are different here. One, net secondary productivity we still measure directly. Respiration, rather than measuring it directly, this time we calculate it. Gross secondary productivity, we can also measure. This is in contrast with the plant problem where we measured net and respiration and calculated gross. Okay, for an animal, the gross secondary productivity is how much matter it took in, how much food it took in, minus the amount of feces generated. So this snail took in 3.1 grams of leaves and excreted 0.4 grams of feces, meaning 2.7 grams of those leaves were incorporated into the snail's body. However, the snail didn't gain that much weight. Didn't gain 2.7 grams of weight, he only gained 0.4 grams. 0.4 grams over the course of these 2 weeks is the net secondary productivity. Now we can calculate the respiration. NSP equals GSP minus R. 2.7 equals, let's try that again, 0.4 equals 2.7 minus R, which means R must be 2.3 grams. Over the course of these 2 weeks, of the 2.7 grams that the snail took in, 2.3 of them were burned off as energy, and the other 0.4 were incorporated into the snail's body. Summarizing my answers for the snail, over the course of 14 days, my net, my gross, and my respiration. My net was 0.4, gross was 2.7, R is 2.3. If I want the grams per year, assuming the snail keeps growing at this rate, I need to adjust the 0.4. I'm going to divide by 14 and multiply by 365 days in a year. And this gives me 10.4 grams per year. Similarly, 2.7 divided by 14 times 365, 70.4 grams per year. 2.3 divided by 14 times 365 gives me 60 grams per year.